How long did it take for you to build an audience?
You know, it's funny. I never looked at the numbers at all. I never looked at a download number or anything like that until I was probably 4 years into this thing, like in the last year. I never cared. I would say if you're an early podcaster, don't even worry about the numbers. Don't look at the numbers. It will distract you. It will discourage you from moving forward. I just don't worry about it. I did podcasting because I loved it and I wanted to have these awesome conversations, and I still do today. I look at who can I impact with the guests that I'm bringing on. When people reach out and they want to, like, if I talk about sponsorships, right? They all say, well, how many downloads do you have? I don't know. I don't care. I'm not selling you on my number of downloads. I'm selling you on the value that I'm going to bring you.
Well, look, let's talk about the podcast then, because I guess I always say to people, when I talk about my podcast or any of my recording, that one of the real benefits for me is that I get to sit down with great guests. I get to sit down with people that I'd like to be mentored by or pick the brains of. And I always say, if nobody ever watches or listens, I don't care, because this is like a private conversation that anybody listening or watching is lucky enough to get to secondhand hear the brain picking of. So as you and I talked about just before we started recording, I recorded a podcast with John Lee Dumas a week or so ago. He's one of the daddies of podcasting, 7 days a week, 12 years or certainly 10 years, and making a good 7-figure income from that now. And I really got some great benefit from picking his brains at the time. But God, I'd love to hear your story. Did you listen to podcasts before you started your own? How did you get into it? And I guess were you looking to do it for money or just for fun at the time?
Yeah, I did it just for fun. Like I said, I had an apparel company in 2012. It was focused on MMA, and I got bored with the company in 2015. Decided what was I, trying to figure out what I was going to do. And so I started this podcast in 2017. I called it a podcast. I wouldn't say it was a podcast though. I literally was FaceTiming guys and recording my conversation with MMA fighters and asking them, like, why do you want to get in cage? You get punched in the face. Like, that was my one question that I asked them. And then I would kind of deep dive into their story a little bit. But I was in a walk-in closet for probably my first 100 episodes. I had bad lighting, bad microphone, didn't even look into the camera. And I would just ask these guys questions, and I would record it, upload it to YouTube, share that link out to Facebook, and call that my podcast. Did that for almost 100 episodes. And then one person said, well, how can I listen to it on Apple? And I said, what the hell is that? I didn't even know what Apple Podcast was. And I was like, whoa, I am missing a massive amount of people that could be listening to my story if I'm on Apple. And so I started researching like crazy. I was watching tons of videos. Took me a couple months to just deep dive in. Like, how do I get this thing set up? Where do I connect it? What's an RSS feed? How do I distribute it out to Pandora and, all these other different channels? And then I just started doing that. And that's what opened the door. And in 2018, I came across Ed Milet on YouTube while searching for motivational videos. It inspired me to start my own entrepreneurial podcast. So in 2019, I started the Erik Allen Show and just started focusing on entrepreneur stories. I wanted to also ask them why they got punched in the face. As entrepreneurs, we get punched in the face all the time. We get no's, we get rejected, we fail, we go bankrupt, but we keep going. What is it that pushes us through? And so I wanted to understand that from these bigger names, and been blessed to speak with awesome guys like Sean Whalen and Brad Lee and Ed Milet, Tim Story and Jim the Rookie Morris and Vedras Kulian and just so many others. And we're about almost 200 episodes in now on the Erik Allen Show. And that's where it started though, this walk-in closet. And now here we are ranked in the top 2.5% globally.
I mean, just to give inspiration and belief on persistence for people who are deep into their own podcast and concerned that that not enough people are watching or not enough people are listening. How long did it take for you to build an audience?
It's funny. I never looked at the numbers at all. I never looked at a download number or anything like that until I was probably 4 years into this thing, like in the last year. I never cared. For me, I wanted to do podcasting and talk with people because I wanted to do it. And I love talking with people. I love that relationship building. And when I started looking at numbers, I was like, wow, that's kind of cool. Like, people are actually listening. So I really started just looking at numbers in the last 4 years, in the last year. But I would say if you're an early podcaster, don't even worry about the numbers. Don't look at the numbers. It will distract you. It will discourage you from moving forward. I just don't worry about it. I did podcasting because I loved it and I wanted to have these awesome conversations, and I still do today. Like, I don't really look at the numbers. I look at who can I impact with the guests that I'm bringing on. And so when people reach out and they want to, like, if I talk about sponsorships, right? They all say, well, how many downloads do you have? I'm like, I don't know. I don't care. I'm not selling you on my number of downloads. I'm selling you on the value that I'm going to bring you. I'm going to promote you on my show, and I'm going to distribute that show out to these channels, and I'm going to give you some shout outs. And that's what I sell my sponsorship on. I never sell on, oh, I've had 10,000 downloads or 5,000 downloads. I don't give that number out. You know, if people ask them, like, I'll be honest with them, like, I don't know, some numbers are 15,000, 10,000, sometimes it's 500. It depends on my guest, right? So I just don't sell on the number. So I don't worry about it. And as a podcaster, I would say just don't do that. Don't look at the numbers, especially if you're first starting.